Welcome to Wild and Finally Fucking Free, the show for disruptors, rebels, and revolutionaries who know they're here to change the damn world. I'm Kylie Patchett, your voice and visibility catalyst, and here we dive into unapologetic truth, magnetic messaging, and visibility that actually feels good in your body, your bones, and your business. We share the stories of the out-of-the-box, neuro-sparkly, creative, witchy wild ones rewriting how we live, love, learn, and lead. This isn't about being louder. It's about being rooted, resonant, and regulated so you can be real, raw, and ready to roar. If you're done contorting yourself to fit the mold and you're ready to own your voice, your power, and your place in the revolution, welcome home. Let's dive in. We are starting with dancing, people, as we always do. Hello, Ms Elizabeth Munoz. How are you, my lovely person?
Fantastic. How are you?
I am superb. And for those of you listening into the audio, you have got to look at least the show notes, or no, the cover image where we will show Elizabeth with her gorgeous pink purple background and her pink purple mic cover. I love it. I love it. Oh dear. Where are you?
You is that this is actually a fireplace that I painted.
That's so cool. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that before.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Full
That's
on
real
rainbow.
me.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I love anyone out of the box. And you certainly fit the bill. So, do you want to introduce your gorgeous self to those of you out there that don't already know about who you are and what you do in the world?
Yeah. So my name is Ms Elizabeth Munoz, and I have coined myself as the Radiance CEO.
Mm.
I spent a lot of time, almost 17 years in corporate, and from there ended up always performing, oscillating, ended up going in a burnout and had to kind of invent myself and
Mm.
return home and heal and realize that I didn't need to prove shit to anybody. And ultimately that's where it kind of came from. And I spent a long time as a blonde, and I don't get me wrong, I was a gorgeous blonde. However, like I've had my hair, pink and magenta purple for like the last 5, 6, almost 7 years now.
Yeah.
And I just can't get enough of it. Like it's
Yes.
everywhere. I don't get tired of
Cool.
it. It brings me so much joy. And what I now do is I really work with women because what I ended up finding was at the core of everything, once I peeled back all the layers of the lotus, what my nervous system was super dysregulated. And so even though I thought corporate was the problem, it wasn't. It was my learned behaviors, my learned responses, and my learned conditioning. And so I was recreating those same cycles in my business that I love so much.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, it was like, ooh, let me figure out the work. And I have my degree in psychology, and I got certified through the Heart Math Institute for heart mind coherence and trauma. And ultimately, I have just kind of merged technology and science and psychology and coaching and
Wow.
ritual and ceremony to just create this all-inclusive solution to life. And that's really what I it's all about helping women come home to themselves, reclaim their radiance, and realize that it's all about remembering who you really are. Like
Mm.
at 3 years old, you were radiant. You walked around like you were just the shit, and
Yeah.
you were awesome, and you danced and you sang, and that is what I want women to remember. Like that inner beauty child that just, it's not a spotlight. It is a sunrise, and there's room for all of us.
Oh, I love that. Oh, so good. So good. So good. I love the word radiance. So you are speaking my language. Like my original company name was the Radiance Revolution. So I'm like, I'm all for the radiance. And I am so glad you bring to the table about like we think that the corporate box is the problem. And there's a lot to be said for corporate.
Right.
But what I'm hearing you saying is, no, actually, I was dysregulated. So I was a match for squishing myself into places that
Yeah.
were badly fitting of me and my, genius and radiance and shine, etc. And I also
Mhm.
love, like, I was just talking about this in a client call before. I love it when people bring all these different layers together into something really unique. So when you were doing your little dance with the science and the art and the psychology, I'm like, yes, because this is like this is the golden thread that runs through our work, right? It's like, yes, I have this academic learning and understanding of the frameworks, but I also have lived experience and I also meld all of these different things together. I just love it. I love it. I love it. All the separate expressions and hearing you speak and even having like the magenta hair and that straight away you said like it brings me joy. It's like it like oozes out of you. So of course that is like it's so fun to be around. It's magnetic to ideal clients that are a match for you, etc., etc. So thank you for the example of being your full self-expression. So good.
Yeah. What's really amazing about that is even when I was in corporate, I got the best job offers when I was not looking for the job and when I would show up to a trade show or an event and I was just authentically me.
Yeah.
That's when I would get like, oh, you have to come work for us, or,
Yes.
and so I think we forget that because we're so conditioned that we need to prove and perform and constantly be on and watch how we talk and watch how we walk. And then it's like before you know it, you're putting yourself in this box that doesn't allow you to fully express yourself. And we think that that's what we're supposed to do, but really it's dimming our light and it's not allowing others to be drawn into that magnet that we become, right? And
Yes.
so ultimately it's again that homecoming.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you just said about a sunrise because there's so much like I work, the intersection of visibility and voice. And so often people are not in their full expression because there is old patterns of like, if I shine, I'm costing someone else being able to shine, or I'm saying I'm more important than someone or whatever. And I'm like, oh my freaking God, if we were all just in our whole self-expression, we would have much happier, healthier individuals and relationships and families and communities and everything. But it's like this. I don't know, it's so extractive, isn't it? It's like if one person wins by shining or letting their light out, then it's costing other people. And it's like, no, it's more for all of us. Like, I just don't get that kind of viewpoint. Anyway, very interesting. When you think about the corporate you, did you like, was it always inside of the corporate version of you back then, even though you were dysregulated? Was there a magenta haired, like authentic self underneath,
You
underneath the covers?
Yes, because I was interesting that you should say that. I was just having this conversation 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I found old pictures from like forever ago, like
Yeah.
2013 or
Yeah.
2011. And I'm going through these pictures and I see pictures on my desk. And I had a pink stiletto tape dispenser and I had blinged it out. So it had diamonds all over it. And I'm like, and then I had like all my pink sticky notes everywhere. And I mean, I've had this pen forever, but it's a Marilyn Monroe Mont
Yeah.
Blanc.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like my first one. I had my first big deal that I closed. And I'm like, it's got the pearl and the gold. But it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, she was always there. Like that diva was always there.
Yeah.
She was just contained.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like let out in little like sips rather than the full.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
When you think about like the clients that are like a match for what you do in the world now, because you've said like shining the light and like kind of dimming themselves. What do you find is the common like themes and patterns that you see in your clients where it's like, yes, I desire feeling like this radiant CEO, but there's all this like dirt on the windshield that's stopping me from shining that out. Can you like pull some of those threads for us? Because I'm sure lots of people listening will be familiar with them.
Oh, yeah. So I have spent lots and lots and lots of money on marketing and sales and companies that make all these promises. And the interesting thing is that throughout this, the last like 7 years that I've been in business, I've had companies try to contain me.
Yeah.
And they'll say like, oh no, you can't say that. That's a bridge and you have to connect it and you got to talk like this. And real people don't talk like that. I'm like, so what am I? Am I not a real person? And because this is how I speak, like these are affirmation cards that I created, for example. And it's like it's all about like radiance and the this is how I speak. Like my thoughts are seeds of radiance. I choose to plant only love.
Mm,
And
mm.
when you look at it from that perspective, what has really got me is this paradox of feeling too much and not enough. And
Yes.
it
Oh my God.
doesn't matter how old you are. I see it showing up in my 7-year-old, like in her friends,
Mhm.
and I see it going all the way. It's like my mom is 74,
Yep.
and it's just this constant thread of us oscillating between not enough, too much, or simultaneously being not enough
Yes.
and too much at the same time.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that is really what comes up is like there, to your point, the intersection of visibility and voice. And then I add in like the value and the vision, right?
Yes.
And when you look at it from that perspective, there's so many women who are afraid to be seen. And at the same time, it's like because they feel like they've been silenced for so long, they can't show up as who they truly are. But then on the other side, because they either feel that they're not worthy, and then at the same time they feel like they're too much.
Yep.
They're too out there. And so it's just like, but it's this constant paradox. And that is literally the biggest thing that I see show up that I want to dissolve.
Yeah. I know, yeah, like all of us have one of those things where it's like, if I had a magic wand and I could delete one thing from the collective, this would be
Yeah.
my thing. I talk about this all the time because I work with a lot of what I call neurosparkly people like me. And neurosparkly people, even more so than the average bear, are given those two extremes of like, you're not enough, you're not measuring up, you're not keeping up, you're not able to do the average bear things, but also you're too much. Like when you're in your full expression, you're too loud, too passionate, too pink, too,
Yes.
bloody bullshit here, right? And I'm just
Right.
like, wow, what if we could get underneath all of that to who you actually are? And like to me, every single one of these patterns is like having your like you like I have a background in traditional Chinese medicine, and I always think about that like kidney jing energy. Like it's this like it's your energetic kind of starting point for this lifetime. And I think
Yeah.
about all of these patterns being like little power connectors where we are giving this energy, this life force, this juice, this beauty to all of these things where we're internally oppressing or silencing or like
Yeah.
observing, can't say that, don't say that, and then all the bloody right rules frameworks. Like that would be the thing I'd want to blow up in business. It's like, how about we just forget about the frameworks because we're all individuals that have never been here before and never will be again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that power thing, it's like imagine if all of this juice that we see in your expression as a human was then tied up to all of these little power circuits that are like, oh, we can't have pink hair. That's too much. No, people think X, Y, Z about that, but then you need to be more this. And it's like, oh my God. And also, appearing in the marketplace or corporate or wherever you are is bloody exhausting when you've got all of those power connectors. Like, I'm draining myself left, right, and center here. Like,
Yeah.
who can I
Yeah.
show up
Yeah.
in the full expression?
Yeah. So
She's like, where do I start?
where I was 7 months pregnant
Yeah.
with my son Mason, which is my third born. So I have
Mm.
four,
Yeah.
and I have three boys and a girl. And I was sitting at a computer, my cervix ruptures.
Oh,
Don't know it at the time. I
oh,
end up calling, I'm having pain. I
I
end up
need more,
bleeding.
please.
I
Yeah.
call the ambulance. They come and get me.
Yeah.
I'm getting an emergency C-section. And in right before they're prepping me,
Hmm.
okay, I lost 4 points of blood.
Oh,
My
God.
husband's at a trade show, so he's like trying to rush to get back to me. I'm like, it's
Oh,
okay, like
yeah.
be safe,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Yes.
I get on my cell phone and I am making a sales call to a client that I had because it was a multi-million-dollar client. And I had worked so hard to secure that client. And I had been working with that client, and this is like the close, right? It was the big call. And all I could think in that moment was I was going to lose this client.
Wow.
And you think about how deep the conditioning goes of like the oscillation between one extreme and the other of having to perform and prove our worth.
Mhm.
And I would hope that that moment would have been, you would think, or, you would have hoped that would have been like a pivotal, like, oh, aha, but it wasn't because I continued to go like work myself into the ground, then get pregnant, have my daughter, do
Yeah.
the same thing
Yeah.
again.
Rinse and
And
repeat.
then it took looking at her 6 months old, losing my goddaughter at 19 to really think, whoa,
What
I
am
need
I
to do something
doing?
different.
Yeah. What am I
Like,
doing?
what's the example that I'm setting?
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, conditioning is like the ocean that you swim in. See it, you don't know it's there. Like the quote that's always like, it's running you on unconscious autopilot until you bring it to your conscious awareness. But
Yes.
I've I look back at I've got two kids 12 months apart, and when my eldest daughter was she born or was it Cleo? I don't know. 12 months apart. It all melds into one. No,
Yeah.
when I was pregnant the first time, I was managing a sleep lab because I've got a background in science, and I was doing 24-hour shifts at very, very heavily pregnant and like with another chronic health condition going on. And I'm just like, oh my God. But it was so normalized for me to self-abandon that it didn't even occur to me that was not a healthy way of moving through the world. It just
No.
didn't even occur to me. I was in the ocean, I was swimming in the ocean. It was normal for me. And so much of my worthiness was wrapped up in like productivity and being the one that copes and being the rescuer, because it was never me rostered on. It was when staff didn't turn up and I would immediately put my hand up. And I look back now and I think,
Yeah.
fuck was I doing to myself? But I just didn't see it like I
No.
until
And
you
you
pull it out.
don't. You don't, right? It's that whole idea of I don't even know where the quote's from, but it's like you're in the painting, and so you don't see yourself because you're in the painting. And
Yeah.
it's somebody else to like illuminate that for you in order for you to see it because you're in it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was.
That's so good. Hey, my God. I think about like when you share that story where my brain, like the words in my brain come up like the good girl gag. Like I'm
Yeah.
so gagged by my conditioning, which is I can't let this client down. I can't let my whatever, like my company
Yeah.
down, whoever you're working with. And also it's a big sale. So therefore it must be more important than me and the health of me and my baby kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's just like,
Yeah.
God, the
Yeah.
hierarchy in our heads about where our worth sits. Under many
Right.
other things. Holy crap.
Right.
What has been the hardest thing for you when you look back at that version of yourself? What's the hardest, trickiest, stickiest pattern, or like I will often use the language self-abandonment, which I know sounds provocative, but I'm sure you can handle that language. What's been like one of the things that's like, oh, fuck, here I am again. There's another layer.
Yeah. I think mom guilt is like a whole other layer that gets added to it that unless you understand it, you don't. And I
Mm,
have done a lot. A big thing or premise of nervous system regulation is forgiveness work, right? And there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just forgiveness for ourselves, forgiveness for those around us, forgiveness for the people who've harmed us. And it's a daily thing. Like
mm,
every single day when I wake up in the morning, I'm going through gratitude and I'm going through forgiveness. I mean forgiveness even when it comes to my children or things that I say or different things like that. But there's this one moment that has stuck with me. And because it was a choice. When I think back now, like it wasn't forced. I chose. And when you think about that, you're like, shit, like I really was choosing that. And
mhm.
that is a hard pill to swallow. So my
Yeah.
son 14 now, but at that time I had just started a new corporate job and they were paying me a crap ton of money and I was in enterprise sales and I had just got the regional manager role and I, again, my boss loved me. She would have let me take the time off if I would have asked for it. And it was Mother's Day. And my son he was in kindergarten, and they
Mhm.
were having a Mother's Day party.
Yeah.
I chose to go to work, and there was a big distance in between where work was and where the Mother's Day party was going to be. And so I chose to go to work. Well,
Mm.
I ended up finding out after the fact that he was the only kid that didn't have a mom show up and he had to sit with the teacher for
Yeah.
Mother's Day. And he cried and he doesn't remember. And I will probably never bring it up. I mean, it's probably going to come out after this, but
Yeah. You'll be like, Mom, really?
I know.
I'm doing my
He said,
forgiveness
Mom,
work on you.
I know. He's like, Mom, I saw your Instagram. You're talking about periods. And I'm like, yes. And you know what?
Yes.
We have them. All women do. I want you to be the one that helps your friend if it happens to you.
Yes.
But so yeah. Anyways, I that moment really sticks with me because it's just that constant reminder to really try to not fall into those traps again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Values alignment, hey. But I like I find with this thing, I've always used the analogy of like, old patterns of behavior are like the yellow slippery slides at McDonald's. I don't know if you have them in the States, but I'm assuming you do. Whereas
Yes.
no matter how big you are, they seem like they're irresistible. Like you've got to put your ass on one of them and go down it. But these ruts in our head are like it. And I was using that analogy as like it's about
Right.
inserting the pause before you unconsciously choose the yellow slide.
Yeah.
And then one of my clients the other day, she added the extra bit, which is like, and you know that there's a ball pit at the bottom that's full of syringes. And I'm like, yes, that is an even better analogy. Because it is that, it's the, yeah, can I even insert a pause to be able to choose consciously or, weigh up whether this is in alignment with my values or not. I'm curious, when you were saying about the heart resonance stuff, I really love, like, I haven't studied it at all, but this whole concept of like this thinking brain has the capacity to do X, Y, Z, but then there's this entire other intelligence system that's also transmitting out into the world, and it's so powerful. Can you speak to that a bit? Because I feel like we live in a world where our brains are over identified as the be all and end all, and I'm like, no, they were never meant to do that.
No, they weren't. Our brains are meant to be the mechanism, and our brains are meant to be like, I hear a lot out there about ego and about parts work
Mm.
and about
Mhm.
separating parts. And I am very the opposite.
Mhm.
I am very much that we need to be returning to wholeness. What happens is we're born whole. At some point, we fracture. Life
Yeah.
fractures us.
Fragment,
And it's like
fracture.
Humpty
Yeah.
Dumpty, right? All the
Mm.
king's horses and all the king's men try to put Humpty together again. Like that is our mission as we go through life, like learn duality and then take the lessons and start to put the pieces back together,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's really that return to wholeness. And in the heart math, what I've learned, which was what I learned through Tibetan monks, right? Like monks gather and they have done studies, they have used actual satellites to measure this, and they can actually find that when monks are all in resonance and chanting at the same time, they generate this huge energetic field.
Yes.
And so
What?
yeah, and it radiates, and there's even, that's where they talk about like shaman in the rainforest were able to transmit healing across
Mhm.
the rainforest if they're able to connect through their hearts.
Mhm.
And ultimately what they found in the Heart Math Institute is because of that same reason they did a lot of studies and research around it. And the heart has a brain, like its own system. And and this is a lot of what Joe Dispenza talks about, right? So it's when we are able to connect our heart to our brain. And as a woman, I would say take it even further and connect it to our womb.
Yes.
Then we resonate at a whole different level of alignment. And there is a field that they can measure. And this is really what the chakra system is, right? Is that energetic field that goes around us. And so when we start to tap into that energy field and we start to align it,
Yeah.
it's all vibrational frequency. And that is when you become magnetic. And I was just having this conversation earlier, like the movie The Secret.
Yes.
What's missing from that is the emotion, because it has been believed for so long that when we see something, we walk into a room, for example, we meet someone, we have a thought, and
Yes.
then that thought then gets back by an emotion, but it's not. We actually have an emotional response, and this has been proven,
Yeah.
and that comes from the heart. It's the heart brain. And then what happens is your logical brain starts looking for ways to either agree or disagree.
Mhm.
But the ego's sole purpose in life is to keep us alive, keep us safe. And
Yeah.
people think, oh, our ego's bad, it's negative. No, it's not.
It's not.
It's trying to keep you safe, and it will do anything necessary to do that. So if
Yeah.
that's putting thoughts in your mind that are like, oh, that's not, you're not, nope, don't
Not
do that
safe.
because you're not good
Mm-mm.
enough, blah, 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 blah. It is just it trying to revert back to what it knows, because at the edge and stepping over the edge is where transformation happens, right? And
Yeah.
so our ego's job is to keep us from going over the edge because that's the unknown.
Yeah.
But our heart's like, oh no, girl, you got this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
you need to listen to.
No,
You into
I had an experience the other day where, because we're packing up our life, it's been a very quick decision, everything's moving very fast. Like last night, we want to sell out my husband's car before we leave because we're like, there's no point having two cars in storage. So, right. And we thought, oh, we don't know, like, it's an older car, like we'll see what happens. We may not be able to sell it easily. We put it on advertisement last night. It sells within an hour. I could have sold it 10 times by now. And I'm just
beautiful.
like, wow, this move is just getting green lights all the way. And
Yeah.
my nervous system, my fear brain is running interference big time because I am actually saying we are choosing to center joy and adventure and travel and new experiences rather than other things that feel safer. And my nervous system is working fucking overtime. Like the other night I had a fear dream about an alien invasion. Like that is how ridiculous it is in my ear, my between my two ears. I had this moment in my kitchen where I was like, I can feel myself going into this overwhelmed story that my brain likes to do when I'm getting close to the edge of my expansion. It's like, oh, it's too much, like that real scattered brain thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, hang on a minute. We need to come back down here. And the thing that actually happened, like I don't have a pattern of anxiety usually, but I was getting very close to what I would be guessing
Sure.
anxiety feels like and almost on the edge of panic. And I was just like, all right, where you are is galloping ahead, trying to run interference. And this, very healthy protective part of your brain is like, I'm safe, and throwing up all of these. And I was like, okay, you need to come back here, down here. And I actually had this
Mhm.
moment. It was so cool. I was like, oh, I imagine if I could just kind of get in an elevator and leave this part of my awareness and just drop all the way down to my womb and then look out at what is actually happening from a feeling state. And I had this really cool experience. I often will hear things, and I heard a voice say, "You are your own solid ground." And I was like, yeah. It's
Yeah.
the only like that is the truth. Whereas this like and I the ego gets such a bad rap in so many ways that are not correct, which it must annoy the crap out of you as someone who's trained in psychology. Same with like even nervous system regulation. Like
Yeah.
when the online world goes into buzzwords about shit, and I'm like, oh, how many non-truths can we share with the world? But anyway, but yeah, it was such a cool example of I love when fear comes that loudly because I know that I'm right on the edge of something that will again like release those power sources that are somewhere where my protective patterns are trying to like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. It was
Right.
such a cool
Yeah.
experience. I was like, oh yeah, I am my own solid ground because it's like I think the biggest things that are like when we have traveled everywhere before, our kids have been with us and now they're adults, they're not coming. And so that feels really weird to be, we are such family people. And so my brain is like, not safe, not safe. Like home is where you need to be. And I'm like, what about if I am my own home? And then I was like, there you go, a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
So
Right. Home is where the heart is.
yeah, exactly. Quite literally. It's very cool. I'm just wondering too, when you chose the words like the Radiant CEO, did you have any like, can I really claim that title? Or were you just like so in alignment with that? You're like, yep, this is the language I'm using because it is really clear.
OMG. I had one of those moments, 3 o'clock in the morning. And for the longest, I was like, again, oscillation, right? Creating these cycles of burnout for myself. And it was like,
Hmm. Hmm.
I was an entrepreneur, a solopreneur. I would never say CEO, never. And then I'm like, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm meditating, and I just like it hit me. I am the radiant CEO. That
Yes.
is my evolution. And I want every woman to claim that archetype. The
Yes.
radiant CEO is fully embodied, fully aligned in
Yes.
personal life and her business and whatever endeavors. If she doesn't have a business, if she's a business leader or,
Mhm.
like whatever it is about an archetype that we are embodying. And I
Yeah.
even take it one step further because it is like being the chief emotional officer of your
Mm.
life.
You are speaking my language, girlfriend.
Yeah. And,
So
and so for
good.
me, I'm like, every woman can embody this because, again, I go back to it is a remembrance. It is not something, and it's interesting because when I hear, like you said, the joy that
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
choosing, this over that. And the big thing that I will say is like, I hear so many people say they're looking for their purpose. They don't know what their purpose is. They're trying to find their purpose. And I'm like, your purpose is to live a life filled with joy and happiness and doing all the things that satisfy you. Because imagine if one day we all woke up and everybody was truly happy.
Yes,
What the fuck? Like, what
I know.
live in? Like, are you kidding me? People are like, oh, aren't you concerned about, the competition out there? No, I'm not, because I don't feel like I have competition.
No.
I'm like, literally, there's so many humans in this world. And if I woke up tomorrow and all of them were awakened and happy and living just the lives that they desired, God, could you imagine how beautiful this world would
I
be?
know. And this is why, like, I don't know. I used to be a forensic biologist. Because of that, I've got enough shit in my head to last me a lifetime, right? So I don't watch the news. I'm very, very happily ignorant
I
about
don't
most
need.
things that go on in the world. And sometimes I find myself in circles where something in the news is being discussed. Like after my gym session yesterday, went for coffee with some of the ladies talking about the state of the world. And it was so interesting to me to listen to the juice of the conversation. It was all about fear and doubt and the things going wrong and how it's all going to screw with us and everything. And I'm like, I understand there's kind of two parts of me here. Like, I understand that yes, there is things that do feel absolutely very concerning, but I also think that to be part of the difference we cannot stay in the energy of that. And I'm like, so what do you actually want to create with your life? Like, what is your desire? What are you leaning into to make?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's all energy, right? So if we're all focusing on the shit that's broken and not working, which is the exact opposite of what you're talking about, because it's like if we had a world of fully expressed, happy, healthy people that were giving themselves the permission to desire what they desire and lean towards it and letting go of the not enough and too much and all of that stuff. Like if we had a magic wand, why not do it all? Then there would literally be like there's always going to be the two sides. I'm not saying that everything would magically be better, but it's like where are we focusing? And
Yeah.
where are we in power versus like completely disempowered and saying like this is all being done to me, which I cannot stand the viewpoint of. Anyway, it's a whole other kettle of fish.
It is, and it's just like I say with my goddaughter, she was 19, she was
Yeah.
working 3 jobs, she was a COVID graduate,
Mm.
graduated, me,
Oh.
straight A student, didn't get to do prom or anything, and
Mm.
she fell into that performance and proving energy, and it cost her life. She fell asleep at the wheel. And when I sit there and I think about it, you have kind of, you could say this happened to me or this happened, right? And what do I want to do about it? So
Yes.
I chose to really realize that I'm super grateful because I got 19 years with her, and there are not people that got 19 years with their children.
Yes.
So I'm super grateful for that. And then the other thing is, like, that's why the blue butterfly, because that was her spirit animal. And so I always had pink and purple, and she was blue. And so it's one of those things where I constantly talk about her and I constantly remember her. And when I took the stage and I ended up winning third place at Paradigm X, and it was a Mind Valley sponsored event, and I envisioned her dancing at the end of the stage and just, and all in her radiance and her
Yes.
energy. And so for me, I look at it like from that perspective, we can choose to be a victim of our circumstances, or we can choose that we are going to realize things are happening around us, and how do we want to play into that? Like, what is the responsibility we want to take? Do we
Yeah.
want to make it where everything that we do is about making the world a better place, or do we want to sit there and be like, oh, I got a flat tire, God, it's happening again? And granted, if you're in that space, I get it, but you have a choice and you can choose differently.
Yes, 100%, 100%. I was having a conversation with my friend that kind of feels like it's the same sort of thread. She's reading a book of a well-known I guess you'd call him like a motivational coach. Like he's coached a lot of the like top sports players, particularly tennis players in our country, and he's just released a book. And like I've heard it so many times before, but it was just a great example of like that reframe that you're talking about. She's like the difference between I have to go to work today versus I get to go to work today. Like such a tiny little shift. And I'm like, oh my God, yes. When I was overwhelmed in my kitchen the other day, I'm overwhelmed from things that are going to be the way to actually head towards joy. So rather than being like, oh my God, there's so much to do, which is what I've been saying out loud, it's like, wow, I get to actually focus on all these little steps that actually allow me to get on a plane on the at the end of April and yeah, head off
Yeah.
on a grand adventure. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Totally different. Same circumstance, different story, different choice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. We're going to Costa Rica, and
Yeah.
so my husband, he got President's Club with his company that is the master company that he works with,
Mhm.
and they we decided to go up early with my mom and the kids, and
Yeah.
so that way we can experience it together, and then they'll come back home and we'll stay for the event.
Mhm.
And we all need passports. And so same thing, me being neurodivergent and it's just like it started to feel daunting. And my husband's like,
Yes.
babe, like you really got to get the passports for the kids and you got to renew yours. And then yesterday I sat there and I'm like, this is something that needs to happen in order for us to be able to go on this amazing trip. So you know what?
Yes.
I'm super excited about getting this stuff done. And
Yes, yes.
granted, it wasn't super exciting, but it made it doable and it made it so that I was able to get it all done.
Yeah.
And I did. And it was just like this great feeling.
Yes.
And again, it is a reframe. And I even talked about like with dishes or laundry, like
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
it, you look at a bird, right? How do they build a nest? One twig at a time, right? Like, and if the wind blows that nest, guess what? They don't sit there like, God damn it, what the heck? Like, no, they're
And
just
the
like,
worst bird on the
okay,
planet.
go get another twig and start over and until you get that nest built because you need to make them babies.
Hmm.
So it's one of those situations where you're like, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So
Yeah.
I just got to take one step.
Yeah, one step, one step. I have a passport story as well. So funny. We only just realized that my husband's passport will expire when we're out of the country. I'm like, oh, okay, not a good thing. And usually passports in Australia take 6 weeks. That's what they say, like standard 6 weeks. And we're like,
Yeah.
okay. We went to the post office last Thursday and he got a text this morning saying his passport was on the way. And I'm like, what? Like some magical creature is just opening all of the doors to let this happen. Because yeah, same thing. Like, oh God, now we've, the kind of like panic of like, are we going to get it in time or whatever? And I'm like, well, if we don't, we just change our flight. Like, it's not like no one's going to die. Like, it's all fine. We can respond. But yeah, it's so funny. Our brains can screw with us. Something shocking. Um,
Yeah.
I am curious, as a mum of four, what are the like radiance underpinning kind of lessons that you, or not lessons, I don't want to say it like that because it's so masculine, but like, how do you remind your kids to stay in their own radiance and not be so impacted by the too much and not enough stuff?
So I actually, when I drive to school every day with them, I go through a whole process of what are they grateful for?
Yeah.
And then I want specifics because they'll say, like, I'm grateful that we woke up this morning. I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for our family. Everyone's alive. Like,
Mhm.
because these are all things that I've taught them that
Yeah.
are not things we can take for granted, right? But then
100%.
I'll have them specify certain things. But then I have them literally go through like they have to say they love themselves. They have to say they are enough. They've always been enough. They'll always be enough. And then I even have them do affirmations like I'm a money magnet. Money flows to me with ease. And I also do what are acts of kindness. And so I have them be on the lookout for an act of kindness that they witnessed somebody do for someone else. So it's just an act that was fully unintended, like there was
Yes.
no act for it, right? And then an act of kindness that someone did for them and that they do for someone else. And so it's this constant everyday reminder and reinforcement. And what I've started to have them do is mirror work too. So I have
Mhm.
them look in the mirror and look at themselves in the eyes and say, I love you.
Yes.
You're enough.
Yeah.
And and it is really about that embodiment. My daughter said to me the other day, she's 7. She said, Mom, my friend told me that her mom said that if she has a friend that doesn't remember her birthday, then that's not a good friend.
Oh,
Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, but like I am the worst with remembering people's birthdays. And let me tell you, I am the best friend you will ever have. If you are lucky
exactly.
enough
Yeah.
to become my friend, like
Mhm.
I will be there for you no matter what the circumstance. So but it's so sad that these are 7-year-olds.
Yeah. I know.
So it's like reminding her to just like stay grounded in her authentic expression and know that if she forgets a birthday or doesn't get to go to a party, it doesn't make her any less of a friend or a human or, a kind person.
Yeah. That's such a good example of like the conditioning that gives us the right way rules. Like we've all got examples of that. Like that's a tiny example, but it's happening again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And so we end up with this, yeah, internal, I always say like the, systems of oppression, wherever we got oppressed or conditioned are now internalized because it becomes part of our soundtrack. I love the fact that so many of those practices too is reminding their brains to look for the good because brains are great at looking for what needs fixing or what was not great or whatever. But training them to remember that all the time. Like I just love that. We did the same sort of thing like at the dinner table. Like tell me something really cool that happened and then tell me, something that, you had like an emotional reaction to that felt like slightly uncomfortable just to normalize that like we are humans, we have a range of emotions. We are not just aiming for the sparkly amazing ones and
Yeah.
that like we have capacity to actually feel and allow the emotion to move through us as well and not just get stuck in that
Right.
story of like something bad happened to me, therefore I'm a bad person, therefore I feel bad about myself. Spiral, spiral. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing I do with them is moving energy.
Mm.
So if they get really frustrated, I'm like, all right, jumping jacks,
Yeah.
dance. What do you want to do? You got to,
Yes.
but you're going to move that energy right now.
Yep.
Or you need to go and run. Like one of them, but pick
Yep.
so that they don't trap that because with nervous system regulation, a big part of it is things get trapped in our bodies. And if we don't move them through, they remain there and they just compound.
Yep. 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 And hello, disease of any type or system. Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so wild to me. Like I'm a mother of two daughters, so I don't have any reference point of raising sons, but particularly in certain school environments my kids were in, they changed schools a lot because of this. It's like it was just so normalized that you feel an emotion, you shove it down. You feel this, you shove it down. Someone does something to you, you internalize it, but you shove it down. There was never any like what you actually did. I feel X because of that. Can we talk about? Because they just don't. I don't know. It's like and I don't know whether that's an Australian thing or not. It also could potentially be the type of
No, it's
schools they were
definitely
at.
here too. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, oh my God, we are doing damage by actually normalizing the shoving down. Like emotion
Yeah.
rises, it's meant to pass. It's
Yeah.
full expression. Anyway. Mm,
Yeah.
so good.
Yep.
So good. Oh my goodness. When we think about Radiant CEO, like if someone's listening to this and they're like, I'm hearing these messages, I know I haven't given myself permission to shine, I'm not in my full radiance, I don't feel like I'm fully expressed. How do people find you to work with you? And do you want to give us like some specifics about like who are your soulmate clients as well?
Mm, mm. So my website is soulhaven.com. So SOULHAVEN.
Mhm.
My handles for pretty much everything are at Ms Elizabeth Munoz, Munoz.
I'm sorry
Um,
to bastardize the pronunciation of your last name. I apologize profusely. I usually check that before we press record. So
you're totally fine. I have my course, which is Reclaiming Radiance, and the whole purpose of that really is so when we talk about my soulmate clients, really what I have leaned into right now is women of all capacities who have come to a point where they've realized that they don't want to live, they don't want to just survive anymore. Like they're ready to thrive. And I'm really big on this and because I do it too and I say like shame on you, like you need to like everything is a reflection, everything is a mirror, and we need to realize that. So when you are being triggered by something another woman does or another woman says or the way that a woman walks in or if she's shaking her hips and she's walking,
yeah,
I
yeah.
do now. I'm like, I used to see women do that. I'm like, look at her trying to be all sexy. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta walk with my hips because that's where power
I
comes
got
from.
swagger.
I know. I'm like, I am really big on sacred sisterhood
Mhm.
because what I believe is that before, like, men used to go out and hunt, and women would stay in community, and we would gather, and we would cook, and we would take care of the children, and we would dance, and we would chant, and we would be barefoot on the earth, and we would do all the things, right? And that is how we healed, and that's why we were so happy, and that's why you had like the divine matriarch, right? It was, and we've gone so far away from that. That is my biggest message is that remembrance because I believe
Mm.
it is a ripple effect. And no matter how small the ripple is that we create, it radiates and it moves outward. And so talking back or speaking back to the sunrise, the
Mhm.
more women that we can get to remember who they are and to reclaim their radiance, then we will start to shine that light so brightly that other women will see it and then they will start to step into it. And then it's just like now we're creating this light veil around
Yeah.
the globe. And
Yeah.
that is truly what I have such faith in humanity. Like I'm so the opposite of what you hear out there
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
I believe that we can do this. Like women, we
Absolutely.
can rise, and then we create that light for our boys and our men to rise with us.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a very balanced society.
Yeah. I just love this. Like I'm very fond of saying like, these ruptures that we suffer happen in relationship and the healing happens in relationship. And when we can create circles where it's normalized to show up in your full expression and to not think that flawed belief that when I shine someone else's cost that we can all rise together and we all have individual voices, individual perspectives, individual genius that is meant to like come together in this beautiful energetic matrix. And when we're all isolated back here thinking the same things about our too muchness and not enoughness, and we're not even understanding that all of those beliefs are so universal, like so many of us have the same kinds of oceans that we've grown up in and swum in. And when we can actually pull them all out into the light and be like, oh, you too? Okay, let's heal that shit
Yeah,
because there is no need to take that into the world. We don't want to
yeah,
infect, yeah, and we don't want to infect our daughters with it as well, which is, yeah, I love community and I love places where women, it's normalized that we have each other's back and that it's this a rising that benefits all and doesn't cost.
yeah,
So good. So
yeah. And I think a final thought on that one is I've been with my husband since 2013,
mhm.
and I can honestly say that I love him more today than I did when I first, met him and got with him. And it's like I hear so many young girls say, like, oh, real happy relationships, they don't exist. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what are we conditioning our girls to believe? Like,
Really?
yeah.
I don't hear
And
that. Oh my
I
goodness.
do.
Okay.
And I hear it a lot. And I'm like, that it's just like this acceptance of trauma or just toxicity. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't have to accept that. Like, that's not, it doesn't have to be normalized. Like,
Yeah.
we get to co-create our reality and we get to co-create what we want and the
Mhm.
relationships that we want. And,
Yes.
all of that is within, but it comes with coming home to yourself and then knowing to be honest. Like when I was struggling with the depression and getting
Mhm.
off the meds and all that, and I
Mhm.
communicated with my husband every single day, every moment of every day, like, this is what's going on for me. I don't need you to try to fix me because it's not something that you can do. I just need you to support me and be there and know that this is a struggle and
Yeah.
I'm going through this and I'm working through it. And that was how I communicated with him. And oftentimes we think that we have to hide it. And
Yes.
we don't, like we should be able to, especially with our partners, to be vulnerable and let them know like what our
Gotcha.
struggles are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so wild to me. I don't know whether it's just different cultures or different. I don't know. Like collective consciousness is such a wild thing. When I hear you say, like, I hear so often from young girls, I'm like, why have we created this shared belief? Like, what is in the reality that's because so many things that are believed as collective beliefs. I'm like, what? Like, where did it come from? And how do
Where?
we proliferate it? And then also, more importantly, how do we shift it to something that is actually, because I'm just imagining all those girls going out with that belief, driving their behavior, their patterns, their how they go out into the world, all of those things. Like, you're going to get the energetic match. Obviously, that's how energy works. So that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And it's interesting about that. I wrote a book. It's called You Were Always Enough. And it's like a love letter to young girls.
Oh,
And
so good.
I'm about to publish it. And it's like a love project because I have another book that's coming out, but this one is like my love project. And it
Mhm.
was all the things that I wish I could have said to Brianna and all the things that I wish I could have said
Mhm.
to myself when I was younger. And so and I'm excited for when my daughter's able to read it, and I'll probably read it to her. But it really is like it's meant to be more of a love letter and a manifesto than it is like, a teaching book.
Yes.
But in there, I do talk about the relationships that we have. And the most important one is the one with ourselves. Because if we can honor and love ourselves,
Mhm.
then we will make sure that whoever we are with honors and loves us too.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That's actually something that I talk about in voice and visibility as well. You want other people to see you, you got to see yourself first. You got to recognize your value first. You've got to go first. You've got to decide you're the woman who creates the reality first. You don't get other people to do it for you. That's not how it works.
No.
So wild.
Yeah.
Oh, this conversation has been so good. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad that I got to, like, I have been in the packing mode, right? And then I was like, interview. Oh, I love connecting with a person and learning more about their golden thread that runs through their lives. And yeah, thank you for sharing your work in the world. We'll put all of the links that you've just mentioned. Can you let me know when the book's out as well? Because I'd love to add that too.
I absolutely will. And I think that one little practice maybe is heart breathing. So if you do get yourself into a situation where you're feeling kind of stressed or overwhelmed, it's just closing your eyes and focusing on your heart and imagine that you're breathing in and out of your heart. And that shifts your state of being so quickly because it does bring you back into your body.
Yeah, so good. I was actually just doing a meditation that a client actually just created. She wanted me to listen to it, and she does this thing where she's breathing in through the front, out through the back, etc. And I was like, it's so cool how those little prompts are like, oh, there I am. Hello.
Yeah.
Like I've been up here for days and
Right.
good. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I love all the magenta and pink and purple. I love your very cool microphone cover. Very good addition. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode. If this episode lit a fire in your body, in your business, deep down in your bones, please take a moment to drop a rating and review so more rebels just like you can find us. And don't keep this goodness to yourself. Share it with your disruptor, rebel, and revolutionary friends who are ready to roar right alongside of you. Until next time, stay wild, stay unapologetic, and stay fucking free.